I appreciate y'all getting on here and checking this out. Jamie's awesome. We're going to learn some really awesome things from him. And just a real quick little thing with Jamie, like I actually met him at a competition that he was in down in Clearwater. We got connected with him and his gym through a buddy of ours that actually was a member at our gym, Dustin Whitney.
Dustin, yeah,
man. He's doing nutrition coaching actually right now with sis. So,
good,
which has been good. But we met him at a competition, and I got to see how much beast mode this guy is, man. But he does have a really big heart for nutrition, and not just for elite athletes, but for people like us, man. And so we just kind of followed Jamie from there on social media and stuff, kept in touch with him through that off and on, and just really had a distant respect because we're in different states for Jamie, and just like what he believes with nutrition, very similar to how we do things. So we would definitely see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I wanted to do this for you guys, the men of our gym, because you guys mean a lot to us for sure. I know, Jamie, you don't know this, but we had a ladies month a few months ago, and I kept telling the guys, we're going to do a guys month. All right. But this is our first event, starting it off with you, bud. And
awesome.
Just definitely grateful for you hopping on here and doing this with us, man. And just a quick little thing. We'll get into this, guys, a little bit more, but like I was telling you guys throughout the past weeks that he's definitely has worked with a lot of professional athletes, CrossFit Games athletes, but his biggest client is guys like us for sure. So it's really cool on just how well-rounded Jamie is with his nutrition on different walks of life. And so I feel like, Jamie, you got a nice good well of wisdom for us, man, and we'll get into some of that, man. But he's precision nutrition certified. I saw that on there too. That my wife is certified in that too, which is awesome. We really love that certification. But he knows a lot, he's got a lot, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that here in a second. But first, I want to thank you, Jamie.
Absolutely.
Getting on with us, man. We really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Jamie, real quick, getting into just tell us a little bit about your background on kind of how you got into the fitness and nutrition in the way that you did, why you pursued it the way you did.
I was actually working in professional sports. I was in California working for the Oakland A's organization and the Sacramento Kings. And I stumbled into a nutrition store that the first question the lady asked me was like, oh, let's talk about your food. And I was blown away because they didn't try to sell me a bunch of crap.
Right.
So, that kind of like piqued my interest, and I started actually managing her store on the weekends. So I would work my real job, and then I would go learn from her on the weekends. And then, I ended up, fast forward a couple of years, I opened my own store back in Tennessee, where I was doing the same thing. And then I kind of just got burnt out on supplements, just in general, because there's so much crap out there. I literally barely take supplements myself, so I couldn't see pushing them anymore. But the nutrition side of things was so important. Whole foods, making sure people had enough food. And I think that's our biggest issue that we come across. Men, women, everyone's like, oh, well, if I eat less, I'll lose weight. Or, and I think that's a common misconception that needs to be debunked on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. And like, so just tell some of these guys, like some of those athletes that you worked with that are more on like the professional side. One of them hits me at home because I'm a Brave, but
yeah, I mean, so obviously Vanderbilt is in Nashville.
Right.
So I got hooked up with Dansby Swanson. I worked with him for a little bit. When he got traded to the Braves, I was working with him. So that was pretty cool because he's a Georgia kid. So good to have him back. But I worked with Brandon Wright. I've worked with a number of offensive linemen, Ramon Foster, Charles Spencer, Evan Mathis. The CrossFit Games athletes I worked with are Scott Tetlow, Brooke Wells, Sydney Wells, Will Morad.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I've worked with, the funny thing about games athletes is in professional athletes actually paid me, which was funny because the games athletes, we work trade because it's a social media game at that point. So they actually don't pay me. So it's such a small part of my business.
Yeah.
It's more of like hey, it's cool to work with you, but like, hey, the other people I work with are really what's more important.
That's right. That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what do you think what drew you into wanting to pursue nutrition in the way that you have? Maybe like for a personal thing for yourself. Like, what kind of brought you into that?
I was a 200-pound sixth grader.
Dang, say that again.
I was a 200-pound sixth grader. And I mean, so I moved down to Tennessee and I was 200 pounds in sixth grade, and kids down here, it looked like an Abercrombie and Fitch ad that I went to school with. So like I got abused, and I think that a lot of people have gone through that. There's nothing new there. Yeah. But like, so I just took that anger that came from that and I used it I played football, hockey, and baseball. So I ended up just hitting people really hard. And the lifestyle of athletics turned my life around a lot. When I moved out to California, I was more, after college football, I was more of a bodybuilding kind of like breakdown. But then when I found CrossFit, it just kind of changed my life, like changed my nutrition. I remember when I first started doing nutrition for myself, because I was messing around. I always play with things with myself first. I remember one of my coaches had cut me on like 1,800 calories a day. Like I eat that in the morning now. It's just one of those things where the more science you learn about this process, the more you'll understand like, hey, I can eat more and still lose weight if I'm consistent. Yeah. So, I mean, I fell in love with the science, honestly.
Yeah, that's good, man. And so like, give us just a ballpark figure, guys. I think y'all will be kind of blown away at this, but Jamie trains a lot. So he definitely has he works out a ton. So he eats a lot of food. Okay. But it shows that when you eat a lot of food, the right food, that I remember watching him in that competition. I was like, this dude's got like 0% body fat. What in the world? And I remember you saying that like, you can't have 0% body fat, but I remember him saying that like he eats like over 3,500 calories or something.
3,500 plus.
3,500 plus. Okay. So give us.
Shoot. Did we lose him? Did we lose Matt?
No, you there? You there?
There he is. All right. Yeah. 3,500 plus calories.
So give us that typical day for you. Like,
oh man,
maybe like how much you eat. What does that typical day look like for you?
I really only eat 3 to 4 times a day. And I just try to maximize those meals. Nutrient dense foods. It's a lot of fat to get that many calories in those meals. So I'm more of a high fat athlete than I am a high carb athlete. Okay. I probably get like maybe 150 to 200 grams of carbs, which is very low. But I'm getting like 220 grams of fat a day. So that makes up those calories pretty quickly for me. Okay. So about 75 to 80% of people are carb driven athletes.
Yeah.
Which is the majority of us. So like I never ever start out with a high fat diet for people. So it's usually a carb based diet, but I did actually a really, really strict keto for 2 years. And it was probably 2 of my best years competing too. My body just seems to work better with that. So I have more of a high fat diet. So I break that over 35 to 3,700 calories over 3 to 4 meals.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily like have to eat the 5 times a day. And,
oh, please no.
I remember you saying something about like, eating more than 3 times a day. And so I know that how we can get kind of stuck on that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of the people who are the loudest are usually the people who don't know what they're talking about. So when someone's going to tell you, hey, 6 small meals a day stokes your metabolism, there's actually no scientific fact behind that. So like all you're doing is your body is constantly digesting. So if your body's constantly digesting, how is it going to help repair your body? How is it going to disperse stuff if it's constantly taking food and trying to break it down?
Right.
So you break that into, instead of 2 to 3 hour meal breaks, you're breaking that into like 4 to 5 hours,
Sure.
which is allowing your body to actually do the things that it should do.
That's good.
Yeah. And there's no, another thing that big myth is don't eat after 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Your body doesn't stop burning calories. Like you don't go to sleep and it's like, all right, I'm done for today. I'm gonna hit the hay. You know, you're still burning calories. So, and you have a calorie number that you have to hit. So, you know, it doesn't matter when you hit it, really. You know, if you want to get really precise about nutrient absorption rates and things like that, we can do that. But, you know, if it really comes down to it, it's the broad number is calories in versus calories out. Macros will determine what your makeup looks like in terms of how lean you are, things like that. And then the quality of food shows you how healthy you are.
Yeah.
So it just breaks down in that kind of way.
Yeah. So like putting it kind of like simply for like the general, like us at our gym, we're not like elite athletes. I think we're pretty elite, but no, we're like your average Joes, you know?
Yeah.
And so like in a simple way, like it's very common. We hear a lot of just like how much to eat, how often to eat, you know, and then obviously what to eat, right? But in like a simple way, like obviously like a lot of our athletes probably won't be eating that much that you're talking about, but just like, and I know you can't really tell that unless you like work out their macros and like their activity level, but just on like a simple basis.
You know,
Kinda.
usually what I'll say, first of all, I eat that many calories. I had to build up to it. You know,
Right.
it wasn't one of those things. I had to reverse what they call reverse diet to get to that point because I was so depleted, sitting at like 2,500 calories. And I only work out for about an hour a day. So I'm working out very similar, but I'm a very trained in terms of musculature and things like that. So, you know, the efficiency of what my calories burn, that's how I got up to 3,500 calories.
Sure.
But in terms of, you know, what an easy base to look at, you could, if you want to lose weight, it's, you know, 10 to 12 calories times your body weight. So 10 to 12 calories times your body weight will give you a number. Now, is it accurate? It could be accurate. It could be low. It could be, you know, but then you have 13 to 15 would be to maintain your body weight.
Okay.
And anything from 70 or 16 to 20 would be to gain weight.
You're talking about times your body weight.
Yeah, times your body weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like quick, easy, you know, hey, I can calculate what my total calories should be based on that.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And so that's pretty simple to get a ballpark, you know, because most of our guys, like we work out 3 to 5 days a week, you know, on average, you know, and so they put in some hard work, man.
Well, I don't doubt it. I think CrossFit is literally the best training method, and you know, I can't see myself training any other way.
Yeah,
I mean, never want to snatch again, but
right. And I love how like all ages, man, like hit that spectrum for sure.
Absolutely.
So, quick question.
Sure.
So, what would you say in like your experience, in your opinion, of like what are for these guys here, you know, what are some maybe like some common pitfall that guys kind of get in with wanting to gain muscle and lose body fat percentage or body fat?
Thinking that you have to lose weight before you gain muscle would be one. You can do them at the same time. Does it take a little longer? Sure. But if you're consistent, it'll actually happen moderately on a good pace. So you shouldn't ever think, all right, it's like getting someone into the gym. It's like saying, well, I got to get in shape before I get in there. No, you don't. Just show up.
Sure.
It's the same thing with that. Just if you start eating right to the right calorie level, you should be able to build muscle and burn fat, therefore. That, and also, you know, restriction is never the way. So we've been taught like, all right, I got to get rid of carbs, or I got to cut fat. if you can't keep it past 8 weeks, don't do it,
Right.
because you're not learning anything at that point. You're not adapting your body to anything. You're actually just taking something out and putting it back in. And all that's going to do is put you right back where you were, because it didn't teach you anything.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good, man. Because I know that like I know sometimes it can get kind of cloudy on like, well, I'm wanting to put on muscle and I'm wanting to lose weight
Mhm.
and trying to throw in like, do I need to eat this much protein? Do I need
Yeah.
to cut out this much carbs? And like one of the things that we try to do is like we just try to make things as simple as possible
Yeah.
and not overthink it, you know. But I think that's good, man, on what you're saying there with those pitfalls. Do you think there's any other things as far as like mindset thinking of that you run into?
I mean, I think guys have it. And I know your wife is there. I think guys have it very tough because we're expected to have a certain mentality when it comes to this. We're supposed to push through. We're supposed to
That's good.
be the rock that everything leans on. And I think that,
Good.
one of the things that has been really important to me is to be able to speak on how I feel, because I don't feel good every day I go in the gym. I don't always want to eat 3,500 calories a day, but you don't fall back on motivation. You fall back on the discipline of what you're doing.
Right.
So, I mean, the mental health aspect and the mental health side of this is incredibly important as well, because if you're not in a good place mentally, you're not going to want to do any of this.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, having a good group of guys that you can actually speak to,
Yeah.
incredibly important. I don't know if you ever saw it. We do this thing on Saturdays called Dadder Days,
Okay.
where it's like 14 dads in
Yeah.
there, and some non-dads, but it's a bunch of guys suffering together. The camaraderie is
Awesome.
highly beneficial. The mental health aspect of things, because everyone has shitty days.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I have some clients that drive me absolutely crazy,
Hmm.
but every time I get together with these guys, all that goes out the window. My mental health is so much better. So that factors in immensely when it comes to being able to follow something, towards your goal.
Yeah. That's good, man. Um, and like understanding your why, kind of
Mhm.
what you were saying is like, why are you doing this?
Oh yeah.
It's such a great motivator tool to help you on those days. It's just like not feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't be motivated all the time. That stuff,
Yeah.
it's
So
impossible.
true. For sure.
Yeah.
So let's hit this real quick.
Mhm.
Alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's kind of, we saw a post that you posted a while back about it. And we were like, yes, but kind of talk a little bit though about maybe on more of the side of like how it affects
Mhm.
men and women, I guess, but like men reaching those specific goals that they're trying to get.
Yeah. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at it as calories in, calories out,
Mhm.
I've never told an adult over 21 that didn't have surrounding problems with alcohol to not drink.
Right.
That's just not my place. I can tell you exactly what happens when you do drink. Your
Yep.
body doesn't process it the same way it processes other things. So the liver is rushing to process that, and it can't process fat. So fat gets stored.
Mhm.
So it's just a process where it blocks you from breaking down nutrients that you need, and it stores those things while it's burning off the alcohol that is going into your body. It's essentially poison is what it comes down to.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean I haven't had a drink,
Right.
I've definitely, I've had a vodka or two in my life, but it's not something that's a regular habit, and I definitely account for those calories.
Yeah. What does it do with like, what does it do with affecting like specifically maybe on losing the body fat,
Yeah, like I said, it essentially what it does is it takes priority in the body because your body wants to get rid of it. So
Sure.
anything that you eat during that time period that has high fat or anything like that is going to be, instead of being processed, it's actually just going to be stored. So then you're storing energy theoretically, but you're just accumulating adipose tissue or
Right.
fat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it slows your metabolism for,
For
24
sure.
to 36 hours, so if you're drinking consistently over a couple of days, you're pretty much kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's so good. Hey guys, real quick too. I know I've mentioned to y'all, definitely writing some questions down. We're gonna have a Q&A in a little bit. But definitely if you're thinking of anything right now, write it down and we'll get to you guys here in a second on asking Jamie some things that might be coming to mind. Okay. Jamie, what's something that maybe we haven't hit yet that comes to mind for you that you definitely like to address specifically with men in this field, man?
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's hard because everyone's so different, so like I look at every client as they're unique, so I build all my plans based on that individual. It's not just like a stock plan that goes out.
Okay.
So a lot of the questions I ask are built around schedule, built around what you're currently doing, and built around making sure that that they're getting enough food. Now, the biggest problem I'm seeing with most people is the consistency. Did I mute myself?
No, I mean I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
It just
good.
mute up top. I was like, we're good. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
The biggest thing I've run into with a lot of guys is that they aren't consistent with the level that they're hitting. They're like, oh, I'm getting 2,200, 2,500, whatever calories in, but they're getting that in one day. They're getting 1,000 in the next day. They're getting 1,500 in the next day. And then they binge because they're starving. They haven't had anything to eat all week because they really haven't, so I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to hammer home is that if you're not consistent with it, you're never going to be able to hit a goal because your blood sugar is constantly unwell. It's up, it's down, it's all over the place. And it's not going to give you a nice even balance to essentially start reaching your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Consistency is key, man. You hear that all the time, but it's so good. I think one of the things that every time I hear consistency, the first thing that kind of pops in my head is not perfect.
Yeah.
Because like I tend to have to remind myself of like trying to be so perfect at things, but what I see from consistency trumps all that because you can't be perfect at it,
Well, I mean, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I do this for a living. So like, I can't
Right.
expect anyone to be perfect. So I think one of the other things that you have to do is force yourself to give yourself grace.
Yep.
If you're 85% every day, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
That's 15% variance.
Right.
I mean, if you're 100% one day and 85% the other day, great. Instead of 30% variance, you're 15% variance. I mean, as long as you're giving yourself a fighting chance, you're gonna see some results towards your goal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that, Jamie.
Yeah.
Hey, so real quick on some Q&As, I wanted to tell you guys they were going to put some down in the chats too so I can see them.
Yeah.
I was going to let you guys just ask them too, just unmute your mic and hold up this little finger right here saying you got a question, and then we'll unmute you guys on one at a time on those, but definitely put them in that chat too so we can get them. Okay. I'll run them through the chat first, so I'll call on you then, like seeing that Josh has a question. I'll call on Josh first and we'll go down the line there. Okay. And you can ask it yourself. Okay. Anything else before we get into that, Jamie, that you would like to address?
In terms of a process that I go through with my clients is I do check-ins every 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's the accountability aspect, because you do need accountability when you're doing this. If you, and that may be me, that may be a partner, that may be someone in the gym, but the accountability aspect is going to help you stay consistent when you don't want to.
That's with your nutrition coaching, right?
Yeah. So I meet every 2 weeks with my clients and we do body fat analysis. Now, are you going to see a lot in 2 weeks? No, but I'm going to see that person, or I'm going to talk to them on the phone, or I'm going to get on a Zoom call with them.
Right.
And that's going to keep them motivated to continue. Once we get past the month, usually we're pretty good
Mhm.
but that first 2 weeks, they're like, oh man, I didn't see anything. And then boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
So, that accountability definitely helps. So accountability, grace, and consistency.
Yeah, that's great, man. Real simple words right there. That's good. We can grab a
It,
hold of that.
it really is. And I
Yeah.
think people, you look online and you see all this crap on the internet about like, no sugar diets and things like that. Like there's so much misinformation that's out there. And I'm not saying I know everything because I'm constantly learning.
Sure.
But anytime anyone says anything about removing foods from a diet, run the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good information. They may look good, but the inside they're dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we're going to get into some questions here. Josh has a question. I'm gonna let you ask that question there. I'm gonna unmute you there, Josh.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, thanks for coming on here, James. Do you eat the same like macros depending on if you work out or not? Or every
So
day?
it depends. It really depends on what your goal is. So for my goal right now, I'm just maintaining. So I eat literally the same thing all the time. Same calorie level all the time. But if I was trying to lose weight, when I'm off days or not, or active recovery days, as we call people who don't really like to ever leave the gym, like me, it's like 300 calories less.
Okay.
So I'm like, anywhere between 3,200 and 3,500 if I'm going back and forth like that.
Okay. And then you said you weren't supplementing very much. Do you supplement protein?
I like to eat, man. I'm half Italian. I love food. So I focus on getting all my protein in those meals. Now, what someone's going to ask is, I thought you could only break down 30 grams of protein at a time, but you still have that in your system. Your body's still breaking that down, and it takes your body longer to break down protein than it does other sources. So that's going to be readily absorbed throughout the day rather than just like that one meal. So, you can have more than 30 grams and still get what you want out of it. That's why I can get away with, 3 to 4 meals a day rather than having to eat all the time.
That's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Josh Corkum, well, that was your question, right? You got a question on there? Is that right, Josh? Or that was Josh calling.
I don't have a question.
Justin, unmute, man, and ask your question, buddy.
Hey, just a quick question. I know for at least myself, I eat out for lunch every day with clients or guys from the office or whatever. Any recommendations on easy go-to meals that you'd recommend when you're not able to cook for yourself at your house because you are having to, entertain clients or people from your staff every day?
Well, I mean, if you're entertaining clients, it's really going to come down to the choices that you make at those places. So what I would focus on is protein and fat, and then fill in your hunger with some carbs from there. So that way you're going to be satiated for the remainder of the time until your next meal, but you're also not going to be overdoing it, because if you eat a bunch of carbs first and then you eat the rest of it, I mean, you'll just plow through it because your body's going to run through carbs faster. So focus on protein and fat.
Great. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Drew, unmute.
Hey, James.
How you doing?
Thanks for being on tonight. Interesting. Good, great stuff. Lot out there talking about, I'd love to hear your comments on everybody talking about intermittent fasting as it relates to training.
I mean, intermittent fasting is great for people who want to lose weight because it controls the window that you eat. So if you're looking to lose weight, then that controls that window. Now, can you still overeat in that small window? Absolutely. So it really comes down to the structure of what that looks like. In terms of training, I've done intermittent fasting where it's 12 to 8, and I train early in the mornings. I train at 3:30 in the morning. So that time, it really comes down to willpower more so than anything, and wanting to train in the mornings and get through it. If you're eating enough throughout the day, in those 8 hours, then you should have enough fuel to come around in the morning. You shouldn't have any dip in production.
Okay, thanks. And then how long, let's say you make some changes in terms of, you want to change things up a little bit in what you're eating with macros, and you try something new. How long do you wait for your body to adjust to that? Or is it pretty immediate where, you can see if what you're doing is not good?
I think you're going to know your body better than anyone else. So I would listen to it every time you change something up in terms of food wise. I would listen to your body and be like, all right, well, I ate this and I'm really bloated, or I ate this and I'm super sluggish. That's going to be pretty immediate, but body changes are going to, I usually say 6 to 8 weeks of something, unless you really know, you're like, man, this does not feel good. And then I would just cut it out from there. Like I did a raw food. I tried raw food diet for 3 days. I couldn't get past 3 days. It was awful.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where you. So, you're the expert there and you need to make sure that you listen to you.
That's good.
Great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tyler, unmute.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Tyler?
So when you're just now starting, like I just started the nutrition plan and program with Sissy and all, and just started working out with Matt. What's a good way to get started when you're trying to lose those 10, 15, 20 pounds? What's a good program to start off with rather than going full board with drastic changes?
I would listen to your nutrition coach.
That's right.
Right. Right.
I think one of the biggest things we do is we try to overcomplicate everything that is in front of us, so it sounds like Sissy's very similar thought process to the way I would do it. So I would make sure that you are consistent. Do that for at least 8 weeks, and then you'll know exactly which direction you need to go from there. But if you're untrained and you haven't really done a nutrition plan before, you should see results in a moderately quick fashion.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. Josh, did I see another question on here from you?
Yeah. What is a good percentage breakdown of fat, carbs, and protein?
Everyone starts at like 40, 30, 30.
Protein.
Yeah, carbs to protein to fat.
Yeah.
So 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that for a little while, then you tweak it from there. You have to kind of move things up and down, but making sure that you get enough calories is going to be the key. So some people are like, all right, well, I got to remove 5% carbs, but I'm already at, 1,800 calories. So I've kind of screwed myself by going so low. So making sure that you're at the right caloric intake to break down the right percentages is going to be the number one overall.
So you said 40% carbs?
40 carbs, because the majority of people are 75 to 80% of people are carb driven or carb burning athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't feel good eating that many carbs, then you back that down a little bit, you up the fats a little bit. Your protein should be anywhere from 0.8 to 1.1 of your body fat.
Yep.
Or of your body weight.
Yeah.
Good. So that's a steady number. That number shouldn't change. So like I'm anywhere between 185 and 210 grams of protein.
Yeah, it's good.
And that just stays there. So that's your kind of like your baseline. And you move your fats and your carbs based on how your body's feeling. To like, my body hates high carb. Like I went a whole 8 weeks with 450 carbs and I felt awful. Like awful, sluggish, performance was terrible. So I knew that I had to back it down from there.
You're going to have to wait. Sis is trying to get on here and ask a question. I'm like, no, this is a guy's thing.
Like, comment question.
Guys, anyone else? Danny, did you have one?
Yeah, I had one about you mentioned eating before bed, and what would that meal kind of look like? Would it be limited, small, like the size of your fist kind of thing, or just anything?
It depends on what you have left, honestly. Like, so if you have your numbers broken down and you say you have like 500 calories left, then it's 500 calories. If it's, 300 calories, 300 calories, I focus again on satiation at that point. So it's going to be more of a fat protein style of meal. So like if I was using supplements, it'd be like a protein shake with, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter in it. And that's going to be about 300 calories. And then, I'm going to bed satisfied. I'm not going to wake up in the middle of the night with, hunger pains. But I'm also not overloading my system or any of that. So keeping that blood sugar steady is the key.
That's good. That's good. You good, Danny?
That's good. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Merle, did you have one? No. Let me know if you got one. Put your hand up. I can't see Windows, so I don't know if Windows got one. Josh, you got one?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. What's up, James? Thanks for joining us.
This is one of my
Appreciate it, Josh.
coaches, James.
All right.
So you start your morning off pretty early.
Mhm.
Are you eating before you train, or do you wait till after?
I wait till after. So theoretically I train fasted from calories. I do intake water and things like that. I like caffeine. I don't think there's an issue with caffeine personally. So I have a little bit of C4 going into the gym.
Nice.
Dang, son.
What's that?
I said, dang, son.
Little
Yeah.
niacin.
Yeah, I like that tingle, but I think that if I'm eating the right calories throughout the day, I have enough to come back in the morning, at 3:30 and hit it. So
Okay.
and then I'm recovering afterwards. There's no anabolic window. So like whenever I get home, I'll cook and I'll eat, but it's not going to be like 30 minutes going right to it. I need a protein shake,
Right.
there's a lot of bro science to that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good question, Josh. No, you gotta wait. All right. Anyone else? All right. Drew, what's up, man? You got
One
anything?
more question.
You're good?
Just curious, after all these years, do you still maintain a careful log of your daily eating?
I'm very type A, so I have logged everything that I've ever eaten. And I do it. I don't recommend it. So like a lot of issues with tracking food come down to disordered eating. And that's the path that it can lead to. So I try not to ask my clients to do that unless they feel comfortable doing it. Me personally, I need to make sure I'm eating enough. So I write down everything. I write down my workouts. I write down everything. I have a whole spreadsheet that I've done it for, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. So yes, I track everything.
Dang, that's awesome.
Even my water consumption.
There you go.
I found it very, very helpful to track. Thank you, Sissy. But I'm just curious because sometimes life gets busy. You don't have time, and it's you can't keep track of everything
Yeah.
when you're working and life's happening. And just curious if it becomes an automatic thing in your head. You kind of know what your intake is, what you've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty consistent with my meals and what I'm eating. So it's if I miss one, I can always remember what I had. But if you miss one and you're like busy with work, just move on to the next one. It's just one of those things where it really comes down to something to keep you in check, but it's not the have all end all. So don't like overthink it, I guess.
Yeah.
I do find it very helpful for me, but it's not for everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's good. Justin, do you have a question? Get on there, bud.
Yeah, two quick ones. One, why 3:30? I mean, I know a lot of us like to work out in the mornings, but 3:30 seems like a peculiarly early time. Just curious how you chose that time.
Well, we have a 5 a.m. class, and I don't like to be in the way of our classes because it's about the experience for the members.
Right.
So 3:30, I wake up at 3:15, I get in the car, I drive to my gym, I'm ready to warm up at 3:30, and then I'm out of there by the time
I come in to warm out.
they start warming up. So
Gotcha. And then just as we were talking about, your calorie intake, could you just give us an example, like just today, for instance, like what you specifically consumed?
yeah. So today was a little weird. I have my daughter all days on Thursdays. So it's all about quick meals that are pretty much in the fridge. So I had breakfast was, I eat those. If you've ever seen these Metrics big 100 bars, they're fantastic. They're 410 calories. I know I'm getting my calories in there. There's a little bit of sugar in that, but I don't mind that. So I had one of those. I had a thing of Applegate chicken sausages. So it's like 10 of those in a box. I ate 10 of those, and then I had 6 egg whites with that.
Dang, son.
Yeah, I shovel it in, man.
I know.
I try to make sure. And then, I have a bunch of meats that are already cooked. So I have chicken thighs, braised chicken thighs in my fridge. I have ground beef in my fridge. And my wife makes a casserole every Monday that I just pick on throughout the week. So I'm making sure I have my bases already like prepared. So all my proteins, the things that take the longest, those are going to be prepared for me. Or I prepare them. But they're ready to go. So I never have to be like, oh, well, I'll just grab a Pop-Tart. That's not in my house, but it's one of those things where it's easy to grab something that's easy. If you make those things easy to grab and go, then, that's what you end up grabbing. So, yeah, but that's kind of like a normal day is like, every meal has a protein, every meal has a fat. Some meals have more carbs than others. Like if I'm coming back from workout in the morning, I'm going to have more carbs. Like today I ran and usually swim, so I'll run in the mornings and then I'll swim right afterwards. It's usually like 2 hours of fitness, but it's really kind of supposed to be active recovery. So I'm a little bit, I'll have a bunch of carbs in the morning and then I'll kind of taper throughout the day.
That's good. Yeah, planning ahead, man.
Yeah, 100%. You have to plan to succeed. If you're not ready to prepare, then you're not ready to actually hit a goal.
Yeah, that's good. Merle, get on there.
Hey James, thanks again for this. This is awesome. First question is, are you eating the same things every week? Like, are you sticking to the same meals every week? And then the second question would be, you mentioned that the bars that you eat, that they had a little bit of sugar in them. Do you actively try to avoid sugars? And then would that be all sugars, or do you eat a lot of fruit?
Yeah. I eat pork, beef, chicken every week, but it's sometimes it's taco cooked, sometimes it's burgers. And sometimes I throw chorizo in there for some flavor because 96.4 ground beef gets a little dry. So yeah, it's the same meats all the time, but I cook them differently. We have steak every Sunday. So, I love cooking steak. I would eat it every day if I could. The bars wise, they have 25 grams of sugar in it. That's going to be something that I right off in my head is going back to replenish muscle glycogen. After a long workout. That's the only time I eat those is in the morning. But I don't actively avoid sugar. I count sugar. I usually try to stay around 50 grams a day of any kind of sugar. I don't eat a lot of fruit. I've just never been a fruit fan. My kid loves fruit, eats fruit all the time. My wife eats fruit all the time. So it really comes down to what you like. And if you like those things, then you just have to fit them in the right spots.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Anyone else? Great questions, guys. I had a question, but I just forgot it. It'll come back to me. Sis, I'm going to let you hop on for just a second.
Okay, sorry. I need to have a conversation with Jamie. Really good. So this is a question. So there's a few men on here that that are doing nutrition coaching with me, and kind of like what you hit on, you're like, one of the things that you see is the culture of, in order for me to lose weight,
Mhm.
I have to really, really restrict. And
Mhm.
oh, good gosh, I could never eat 800, 1800 calories in a day, you know? And I
Yeah.
know that, you know, one thing Matt didn't hit on was like, and just to kind of overshadow this to you men, Jamie, tell us really quick, Jamie, how much do you weigh?
I'm 210 pounds.
Okay, so you guys can get an image of what that is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And about like how long are you working out? Like
Hour 15.
a day?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so y'all can kind of, you can picture that amount of energy going out, the size man that he is. Okay. So first question. A lot of times when people come to me, men and women included, but we're talking about men here, they're under eating.
Mm-hmm.
They're wanting to lose body fat.
Mm-hmm.
You take your men and go, hey, this is what I know you need to be eating.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go ahead and jump up there. Or do you slowly help them train their metabolisms to consume more food?
I think it really comes down to depends on the individual and how big that deficit is. If it's a massive deficit, then I'm going to probably incrementally raise it 200 to 300 calories, at a time.
Right.
And that may be a week, that may be every 2 weeks. That it just depends on that person, because how they tolerate that food is going to be really important.
Right.
Yeah.
So letting their metabolism. So men, if you're hearing this and you're going, wow, I'm really feeling like I'm probably not eating enough right
Mhm.
now. You need to, and possibly a next step would be setting up a consultation with me, and we can kind of figure out some specifics of what you really need to be eating. But would you say in your experience that working with men, if men are holding on to extra body fat and they really can't budget and see any results, would you say like a telltale thing to you is you're going to see, are you under eating?
I think it's three things. I think it's one, people aren't quantifying the snacks that they grab, like the onesies, twosies, things like that. It could end up being a lot more than they expect. Two, they're inconsistently eating way under and then up way over. And then three, they're not quantifying alcohol. Especially since 2020 was like a massive boom in drinking, like even more so than ever before. So like people aren't really quantifying that number. Like, oh, I had 1 drink, 2 drinks, whatever it is. But like, is that 1 ounce or is that 4 ounces? So that means it's 150 calories, or is it 600 calories? If you're not quantifying those numbers, like then all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, I'm just kind of throwing a dart into the dark and maybe I'll hit it. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Let's see, my next question. Just curious, in the Apple Watch age and era that we're in, when people are like, my app said that I burned 900 calories in that workout. What do you,
Blow that up.
I know this is good. Talk to us. What do you like? How are you quantifying energy expenditure in a day? And is it kind of like a trial and error thing to figure out what do you need to be eating based on what you're burning? Like, do you tell people throw those watches out the window? Don't worry about
those are so phenomenally inaccurate that like people are like, oh, well, I burned extra 900 calories. I can eat 900 extra calories. Like, no, like we can't do that. If you're going off of body fat and if you're going off of body weight and all those metrics, then you're going to be pretty precise on what they need, whether they're working out or not working out. I've worked with clients that don't even go to the gym. I know what their body fat is. I know what their muscle mass is. I can make a scientific decision on how many calories they should make. It doesn't matter what their watch says. I don't care how many steps they did. It really doesn't matter to me because I know what they're burning. So, whatever, like I use this Aura Ring thing and I use it only for sleep. Like it's all about recovery. And I have the same thing with my 8 sleep bed. It's all about recovery. What it shows me I worked out, I could care less. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
The inaccuracies are just too big to even, take it into consideration.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I hate Whoop, by the way. I hate their product.
Yeah.
I don't know
It
about
drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I went
I've
through
seen it.
I went through the whole quarterfinals with one on, and I barely broke a 6.
Mm,
I mean, that's high intensity stuff.
yeah.
I gave it up after that. I was like, you know what, this is stupid.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, I had a question that came to me.
Yeah.
So when you're working out 3 to 5 days a week, that's like average for us. Okay.
Yeah.
I hit pretty consistently 4 workouts / 5 floating day kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I'm eating, or we are working out 3 days in a week or 5 days in a week,
Mhm.
or didn't get the amount of workouts that we wanted to in that 1 week, are we needing to change anything with our nutrition in those times where we're not really getting the amount of workouts that we needed to hit?
I mean, again, I think it depends on the goal that you have. So if your goal is weight loss, then I build out non-workout days and workout days. So you just stick to the non-workout day on the days you don't work out, and you should be okay. You should be at the proper deficit to allow for you to continue your progress.
Okay.
If for 2 weeks you don't work out, then that's not going to be an issue, because your body adapts very well to that. Now, if you go much longer than that, then you're going to start, losing some muscle and such things. But I mean, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, as long as you're eating in the consistent deficit that you need to be at without overdoing it, I mean, you should be all right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has to fit your schedule. If it doesn't fit your schedule and you're forcing it, like when I do work with a client for 8 weeks, and if they're like, "All right, I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week," I'm like, "But are you going to do that after the 8 weeks?"
Right.
Like, if you can't do it for after the 8 weeks, then we're not going to do it during the 8 weeks, because we're not teaching anything. I want you to know how to do things for real life.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I know that's a common thing that not only have I, am more curious about too, but I know some guys definitely are in that vein as well.
Well, it's actually one of the hardest things that we come across and Sissy, I'm sorry, but as men, we don't talk about a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
These conversations aren't had. I had an eating disorder. Technically still have one. I was binging and purging. I went through that process, and I have such a respect for food now, more so from going through that process. But no one really talks about that. As guys, we're like, guys don't have eating disorders.
Yeah.
Sure. Guys haven't had to go through that. That's a female thing, and it's really not. And I think guys have these things in our heads that tell us that I tell you, like, I didn't tell anyone about that. I only recently opened up to clients about it, but it's one of those things where, we have these preconceived notions in our head of what we should be doing, when we really need to be kind of like working with someone like Sissy and making sure that we're doing the right things for ourselves.
For sure. Yeah, that's good. We got like 4 minutes left. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. If anyone's got any other questions,
Let me ask
please.
the guys first.
Yeah.
Everybody good on questions? That's great, y'all. Good questions, man.
As the nutrition coach in our gym, or the head of that in our gym, what Jamie's saying, like, I love that. That about the 8 weeks thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we start. We're like, hey, you're not coming here to get any diet pills. I don't have any quick fixes for you. Like, we're going to start with simple habits, and we've got to implement those. But like, I love that idea of saying, like, if you can't do this 8 weeks from now, like, we aren't going to do it here, and just starting slowly and being okay that, like, hey, what sometimes I say, you're going to see results in a month, in 2 months, but come back to me in a year.
Yeah.
And let's talk. Let's talk after you've really stayed on this for a year's time, and almost like don't look up until it's been about a year.
Yeah.
Yes, it just takes time,
Well, and that's one of the questions I ask my clients is I want to make sure that like, hey, what are some non-negotiables? Like, hey, I have creamer in my coffee every day and I don't want to change that, but I'll give it up for 8 weeks. Keep it in. We'll figure it out. You can figure out how to keep creamer in. You can figure out how to be like, all right, man, I really need like pizza once a week. Have pizza once a week. You'll be all right. You're going to survive that.
Right.
You know, if you're good on all the other days, have pizza.
Right.
sure.
It's not a reward,
Right.
but if you want it, you can have it with your family. Like, I don't want people missing moments because they're on a diet plan with me.
For sure, man.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
That's good. Last one thing that I want to say before I hop off and let Matt finish up is that if there is anything that Jamie has said that has piqued your interest or that you feel like you need a little bit more, like, hey, he was mentioning something about grams of protein and look, calculating what I need. If you need any clarification on that, you can follow up with me. You can reach out to me. You know, you guys know how to get in touch with me, but I'm happy to provide some understanding around that. And, you know, even if we need to book some time together and set up to kind of nail things down for you in particular, I'm happy to do that. So
Great.
Yeah.
Mama's leaving.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Hey, so guys, awesome. Great questions. Jamie, thanks so much for your time, for sure, man.
Definitely.
I'll leave it at this too. Just one last little piece of advice that we could take and maybe implement immediately. What would you say that would be?
Oh man, one overriding thing.
Just one.
Gosh, be consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, I can literally, everything goes back to that. If you're consistent, with the plan to hit your goal, then you will be fine. If you're inconsistent, you will never reach that peak.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think one of the most eye-opening things for me too, one time my wife told me was like eating good during the week and smashing the weekend. And she was like, you know, your weekend is 40% of your week. And when she told me that, I was like, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you're great Monday through Thursday and you're, you know, rewarding yourself Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I mean, you can still have the things that you want without overindulging.
For
You
sure.
know, you don't have to feel like you're in a frat anymore. You know, you don't want to be the asshole eating like a frat kid. Excuse my language. You know, it's one of those things where as long as you keep those things in moderation and you're consistent all the other times, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, hey, fellas, if you guys want to give Jamie a follow on Instagram, it should be in that email, but I'll tell you right now too, and I can put it in the chats, but it's at 27 Health and Wellness, right, Jamie?
Yes, there is no weird booty short pics. Sorry. Yeah, I don't try to get followers that way. So nah, I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to talk. I love this stuff. I talk about it all night.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Jamie. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank y'all so much
Thanks a lot.
for being on here. We really appreciate you guys too. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all.
Thank you.
Jamie,
Thank
thank
you.
you, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.